Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to walk you step by step through the residence permit application form for Austria. So whether you're applying for the first time as a master's student, as a bachelor student, as a PhD student, this guide will make the process super clear. So first things first, make sure you have all the necessary documents ready. Let me just show you the necessary documents. So you need a fully completed application form, which I will show you how to fill. You need your valid passport. You need one current photo according to the ICAO standard, which I will explain. You need, again, your birth certificate is optional, police clearance certificate you need, and it has to be apostilled. You also need a valid health insurance, which can span from 4 to 6 months, but 4 months being the minimum. You also need to show your admission letter from the Austrian University or the University of Applied Sciences. You also have to show proof of sufficient financial resources. This could be your bank account, this could be your sponsor's bank account. And if you have a sponsor's bank account, you need to show a declaration of liability. You also need a proof of secure accommodation. And I've made a video on how to find accommodation as well. Okay, so now let's get into the actual application form. So this is how the application form looks. And what we're going to first do is go through the EU passport photo, right? So the requirement of the EU passport photo is very specific. So there's also guidelines given at this particular website. I'll just show it to you. So this is the requirement that the photo should ideally be 35mm wide, 45mm high, and 80% of your face should cover the photo, right? So as opposed to the Indian passport size photo, which is much smaller, the EU photo requirement is that 80% of your face should cover the photo, and it should be taken with a light background, a white background, or a gray background. Also, you need to have just neutral facial expressions and a closed mouth. If you have glasses, you can wear the glasses, you can take off the glasses, it's fine, as long as it doesn't obscure the eyes. So you can go through this criteria, and that's how your photo should look. Coming back to the application form, so you carry your EU passport photo with you. You don't have to stick it just yet. You can go to the embassy and show them your application form, and they will ask you to stick your photo and sign here. So do not sign in advance. You should sign this only at the embassy in front of the officials. Make sure you also write a date, which is going to be in the format of DD, MM, YYYY. Okay. Step number 3, this is to be completed only by the authority. Do not fill any details here. Now let's scroll down to the actual application, right? So if you're applying for the first time as a student, you will choose this option, Stay Permit Student. There's also options of red, white, red card and all of this. This is if you're going to Austria as a worker, or if you're applying to extend your residence permit or long-term residence, etc. But as a student, you have to choose this option, Stay Permit Student. Moving on, you have to choose the type of application. So if this is the first time that you're applying to Austria, you're going to choose the initial application. So you can choose extension if you're renewing your application. If you're switching, you can choose that, so on. But we are going to choose initial application. So I would always recommend to fill this form online and then take a printout and not fill it by hand. It's always more convenient. So we're just going to choose initial application, right? And then let's fill the data, which is your surname, your first name, former surnames if you had any. So all this is basic data. So I'm going to fill Indo and then female. You're going to fill your date of birth in the order of DD, MM, YYYY. Country of birth is going to be India. Place of birth is going to be wherever you were born. Marital status, nationality. So nationality you're going to fill essentially if you have just one nationality. If you were a citizen of just one country, you fill India since your birth date. If you had multiple nationalities, you will fill your current nationality, your date since you were that citizen, former nationality, and what date you were that citizen. And then type of previous residence permit, leave this blank. If you have not applied for a previous residence permit, you can leave this blank. Similarly, health insurance, that is compulsory in Austria and covers all risks. I had filled my health insurance, which I had taken for 4 to 6 months, which was Reliance. So you can fill the same thing, or you can also leave this blank. That's okay. So one more thing I wanted to add about this health insurance is ideally what you should be filling here is the name of your Austrian insurance provider. So again, if we don't have an Austrian insurance provider, we're going to leave this blank. But I had also filled Reliance or Bajaj, whichever you're taking for the next 4 to 6 months. You can fill it and it's absolutely fine. You can also leave this blank because they are ideally asking you for your Austrian health insurance provider, which as students we don't have right. Okay, let's move on to current residence. So current residence is the place where you're currently staying, right? So you currently stay in India, you're staying postal code wherever. So, right, so this area is where you're currently residing in India. So your country, your postal code, street, house number, location. Make sure you give all of this accurately as per your passport. So the next thing to fill is the intended place of residence in Austria, which is essentially the student dorm or the shared WG that you're going to stay in. So fill the postal code, the street house number, door number, and location. Again, this is your intended place of stay. So I have filled the address for Housing Austria, which is where I'm going to stay in Austria, in Vienna. So fill your intended place of residence in Austria. Contact details, make sure you include your country code and your phone number. Make sure this is very important to include the correct email address because all communications from the embassy, be it the Austrian embassy, be it your Delhi embassy, they will reach out through email. So make sure your email address is correct. Let's move on to the next part, which is authorized representative. So if somebody else in Austria, like a friend or a family member, is handling your application, fill out their contact info under this authorized representative. Let's move on to my family members. Again, this section asks about your parents, spouse, children, and only fill this for underage children. Do not fill this if you're not underage. Leave this area blank. Right? Only if you're going with family members, taking them along and all of that. For students applying to Austria, you do not have to fill any of this. Own funds available to secure the livelihood for your duration of residence. So this is super important. The authorities need to know that you can support yourself in Austria. So you will be asked to list any assets like your savings account, mention your monthly income if applicable. So here you can write something like, here is my savings account, give your account number, name, whatever details you want to give, and here, right? So where does the amount come from? So suppose I've already written fixed deposit. So if you've sort of liquefied your fixed deposit to get money into your savings account, or you have transferred it from your parents' bank account, you can mention all of that here. And height, euro. So basically, it's not height. They're asking you how much amount is there in your bank account. So the requirement is that you have around 15 to 16 lakhs. So you can write in euros, you have, I think, 1,500 euros per month. So yeah. So for students over the age of 24, you need to show at least 1,200 per month for 12 months, right? So you need to show around 13,000 to 14,000 euros for 1 year in your bank account. So I've just written here that I have around 18,000 euros in my bank account. Does this money belong only to me? Okay, so this is very important because they want to see if you have some kind of alimony or you're paying somebody for any kind of requirement. So you can mention, yes, this money belongs only to me. Income. So the type of income, maintenance, monthly amount. So all this you can leave blank. This is if you have a scholarship, you can fill the income field saying, yes, I'm getting a scholarship of 1,300 euros per month. If not, you can leave this blank. Then declaration of liability, yes or no. So declaration of liability essentially is a written statement by a person who is responsible for your accommodation, financial support in Austria. So for example, if in the previous place you have given power of attorney to somebody and you're saying this person is going to sponsor me there in terms of my financial needs, in terms of my accommodation and all of that, then you need to submit a declaration of liability. So that declaration of liability is essentially going to say that this person is going to be sponsored by me for the entire duration, including accommodation or any other costs that are incurred by the person. So again, if you want to submit the declaration of liability, this is the form. A declaration of liability is possible for some residence permits and you can download it here. Again, if you're a student and you're not being sponsored by anybody in Austria, you don't have to submit this declaration of liability form. So here I'm going to choose the option no. Okay, regular expense. So I have the following regular expenses. So what's important here only is the rental cost, right? So you are not paying any credit card charges, installment payment, nothing, maintenance payment after divorce, nothing, none of that. So you can choose rental costs because all of us are going to be paying a certain amount of rent. So depending on your rental costs, you can enter that here. So some 400 euros, 300 euros, you can enter that here. This is for monthly. Okay. So after this, there is two more important places. That is this. So here you should mention your location, date, and give your signature. This is going to be your signature. Do not forget to sign here. Everything else you should leave blank. Again, this you're filling only after the request by authority. If they don't request it, leave this blank. So your signature is needed only here on page 5, the first part. Okay, so moving on, you can fill all of these details. This is not going to be considered for your residence permit application, but the authority just needs it for statistical reasons. So go through this and fill it. So, you know, how many years did you study total till your highest degree? So if you've completed bachelor's, you would have finished 18 years. Fill all of these basic details and yeah, see what your highest degree is. If you have worked in the field, what have you worked as? So all of this is just general information. Again, this will not hamper your RP. This will not be considered for your RP. It's just a general survey. So that's all of the details that you have to fill. So there's just one more thing that I want to highlight. With the email that you get from the residence permit appointment, you also get one sheet which is more information about the documents that should be submitted. Here is the information. So the first part is that the application has to be submitted in person at the embassy and cannot be done at VFS or an honorary consulate. The embassy must not accept applications from third parties. So it has to be you that goes there and submits it physically. Next important point is that all your documents, you have to bring one set of originals, but also one set in A4 size format and one-sided black and white copies. So when you take copies of your residence contract, your passport copy, admit letter, make sure you take one-sided black and white copies with you in A4 size format. This is very important, is that the police clearance certificate must not be older than 3 months from when your application is submitted. Also, very important thing is you have to carry a certain amount to pay at the embassy for your RP fees. That will be mentioned in your email. As of today, it's around 18,000 INR and has to be carried in cash. But when you apply for your residence permit appointment, they will send you exactly how much money should be paid at the end. And all has to be done in cash. So you can just go through this information sheet as well. And yeah, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. Bye.